Welcome to Cosmic Brilliance, where we return for part 2, titled Knowing Your Soul Desired Life Path by Accessing Your Soul Records, with my delightful guest, Lisa Barnett, who will also be guiding us as a special treat through a peaceful process towards the end that will integrate your female and male energies within your body, no matter what sex you are, so don't worry. This is very important to do at this time, and she will explain that in this show. Hopefully, you have already listened to part 1 with Lisa that explained what the Akashic Records are and much more, as well as she provided in part 1 a free 10-minute guided journey to release old, outworn vows, past life contracts, and important things that you're not always conscious of, but are holding you back in this life. So if you haven't looked at that, definitely take advantage of that. As a quick reminder, Lisa is an author with a new book coming out this month, I think, an Akashic Record reader and teacher for 25 years, and also trains people with a current training session going on as we speak in how to access your own records. And this, as a reminder, is a very important self-empowering tool to receive clarity about our soul's purpose and objectives for all of us in this present life. She's also just returned from Scotland, one of my favorite places, where she was directed by the record keepers to sacred sites to do healing and balancing work to assist our precious planet, which she will also be describing in the show. There has become much more interest for people to not only access their lifetime records on Earth, but to also identify their soul origin, meaning, this is a general term, meaning the first planet that we kind of relate to as a home base, so to speak, after splitting off from Source Creator to go explore the free will universe. So this past year, Lisa has also received downloads and information around such soul homes that we refer to as Pleiades, Arcturus, Sirius, Orion, Andromeda, Lyra, and others. And many of my listeners are starseeds, so you will be interested in that. So with that introduction, welcome back, Lisa. I appreciate you returning to share more wisdom, and it always adds clarity to people's life journey.
Thank you, Marilee. I'm really excited to be back. There's always so much to share, and just kind of the energy of the Akashic Record is, of course, expanding now for us on Earth, whereas 1,000 years ago, they pulled the vibration away from the planet because we misused it. So now it's back. I've been anchoring it for 25 years. Lots of other people have been accessing and helping to anchor this energy because the record keepers literally asked us to help bring this wisdom back to humanity. And so it's exciting to be sharing with you right now.
Oh, you're always such a bright light. Thank you. So we're going to start off with a bang. Woohoo! And I'm going to have you start off by giving an example from a client that was comforted and her or his life improved through finding more about their soul's journey and through accessing the records. Let's start there.
Okay. So over these years, I've taught thousands of people around the world to access their own Akashic records. And one of the reasons I love to do that is because it is so empowering. So what I often will see is someone who wants to learn to read their records because they have some challenges. They have maybe a relationship challenge, and they think maybe I would like to do something outside of my 9-to-5 job. You know, what's my purpose? And what they find is that they are so much more than they ever really imagined they were, right? We have been in this, hypnotic state where we believe that we're human, right? We believe this is it, whatever body you're in. And so when these students or these clients come to me, often they say, I think maybe I could be a healer and maybe bring in some new healing information and maybe even write a book, but who am I to do that? And so we say, of course, let's open your records. Let's ask your Akashic Record Keepers. Why did you come? What did you want to do? What were your plans here? And so when whether they're doing it through a reading or through taking a class and learning to do it for themselves, they can start to ask their record keepers, did I come to be a healer? Or is there another gift or talent I, wanted to bring forward to humanity? Have I ever written a book, or have I ever, done any of these kind of things that they're thinking is so exotic? And then they realize that they've had 20 different lifetimes where they were healers of all different kinds, and that they were teachers and sharing information and often, writing books is not obviously as, common as it is now, but we would often write and teach and share our wisdom, even if we were writing smaller booklets or pamphlets, but really getting out there in a bigger way than we often think we are capable of as just these little people. And so to me, what I've seen with so many students and so many clients is that when they can realize, and again, when we can do it ourselves, there's kind of a just even a deeper level of awareness, right? When you go into your own records and you see those many lifetimes in which you were a healer, it really activates and integrates those lifetimes into your body, into your life now, as well as, of course, as an Akashic reader, healer, I do that for my clients. But I always say, when you can do this for yourself, it is just, wow, amazing. Like, I see who I was. I can feel who I was. I know who I was. And now I totally believe I can do that again.
Yes, that is. And I was lucky enough to have a reading with you, which I so enjoyed. And what I found, one of the things about what you just described is we're still shut off from our true abilities. And so we tend to think we're so much less capable, and our insecurities arise and our confusion arises. And that's going on a lot right now. And what that provides for people when their record keepers tell you, oh my God, you've done this so many times.
Right.
You realize, instead of you being nervous about having to acquire a new skill and oh my God, and the head trips around that, you realize, oh, okay, this is in my bag of tricks, and all I have to do is remember it. I don't have to acquire a new skill. And I think that takes a lot of pressure, off it. You're like accessing more the multidimensionality of who you really are. Right. So thanks for sharing that. Now, I want to keep my promise, because I keep my promise to my subscribers. And a loyal subscriber named Maggie, oh, hi, Maggie, it wrote 4 questions. She's very diligent. She listened to part 1. But she needs greater clarity, and I promised I would ask these 4 questions, and they apply to everybody. So the first one is, she said, I would like to know more about Akasha, what it is, and does it apply to everyone as a soul on a planet, regardless of where they came from?
Good question. So the Akasha is really the energy. So Akasha is a Sanskrit word which translates into ether or sky, right? Of course, this is us humans trying to explain what something is. So the Akashic record, Akasha, the Akashic realm, the A field, it's called a bunch of different things over time now. It does apply to everyone, because when your soul individuates from source and starts on a journey, that journey is recorded in this etheric energy that we refer to as the Akasha. Okay, so I think the easiest way that we can imagine it, or the record keepers always kind of give me two examples, one for people who are more my age and one for people who are younger.
The vintage.
Right. So the vintage answer is that if you imagine that you start a journey and that journey is created into books, right? So as you're going on this journey and you're having these experiences, there's etheric books that are being written about you. And so you start a library. This library is created for you. You don't have to do anything about it. It is an energetic aspect of your soul's journey. And so you end up with this big library with book after book after book in that kind of scenario, all about you and your lives on all sorts of worlds and dimensions or planets. And of course, here on Earth, because most of us come back here 500 or 800 or more times.
You had to say that, didn't you?
I did. and you have these beautiful beings of light who have never been human. They are pure source energy. They have no judgment. I call them the Akashic Record Keepers. They are these beings who have devoted their life to us, to keeping our records, so they're easier for us to find. So when I teach people to access the Akashic records, I'm literally teaching you to have a conversation with your record keepers, with these librarians, these beautiful beings of light who are in service to you. So it's totally one simple way of looking at it. I think most of us have been in a library at some point in our lives, whether we were in school or university, whatever. There's amazing libraries. And so you imagine you've got your own. So the other thought, which I think is kind of a nice visual, if you imagine that from the moment your soul individuated from source, it had a video camera, say a GoPro, as part of the soul aspect, as part of the human aspect, or whatever plane dimension world we're living on. And so everything you do is recorded in this kind of video cam. And then that video, just like we do now,
we're in trouble.
Right? We upload it to the cloud, and there it is. And anytime you want to say, hey, what was I doing 10 years ago or 10 lifetimes ago? It's all in the cloud. Which is all the same thing. The ether, the sky, the cloud. It's all part of source energy. It is all part of the quantum field. There is no time and space where this library exists. And so the benefit of that is that when I do a reading for a client, or when I teach my students to do this for themselves, that we can move outside of time and space because it's not real, and we can actually heal trauma and pain that may be, scaring you unconsciously from doing something, or, having some kind of effect on your life, whether it's a karmic pattern or a terrible death or whatever it might be. We can go into that past life and heal that trauma, and then reclaim those gifts that you may have lost that were blocked by that trauma. So having this library in the quantum field is perfect, because then we can access all of that information.
Beautifully said. And it makes sense. because we're going to use that to look at and figure out what we want to do next, right? When we're up there designing our next life.
Right.
Her second question you more or less answered, which are where are the Akashic Record Keepers and Akash actually located, which you said the quantum field of Source Creator.
Yep.
And how was it put into place and by whom?
So I would say it's just part of the source energetic creation. I do not get that it was made or built or created by anyone or anything. It's part of that universal energy of creation.
Yeah. It's part of the whole plan,
Right.
It's kind of like Source Creator's brain. So,
well,
for trillions upon trillions of children, a certain way. Keep track.
Right.
I mean, I'm being a little silly, but
Yeah, no, it's true. So, it really is kind of part of the energy of creation.
Okay. Now, you may or may not know anything about this. She was wondering if the historical being known as Thoth, who's also written about as Hermes, had his hands in the, quote, making of the Akashic records.
No, I don't get that he did. What else have I gotten about that? In this scheme of things, I get that Thoth is way more recent than creation, and that really through all time space continuum there have been the Akash, the energy of recording of creation, and I get that it's kind of an area. The record keepers say it's like the information arm of source. So if you were looking at, say, our galaxy, how it spirals and has all these arms that spiral out, that's kind of the image they give me. It's like this big arm of the galaxy. And there is no time place. It's not held in our body. I mean, I do believe that there are bone libraries that are connected to the Akashic record. I believe that there were some physical kind of energetic manifestations of the Akashic record on Earth for a while. Mm-hmm. When I was in Egypt 2 years ago, I went into I don't even know what you would call it, because it wasn't actually a temple. But when I walked in, it held all these huge boxes, which they say were like sarcophagus for bulls, which is ridiculous. But anyway, but that they're big enough to have held a bull, say. But when I walked in, there were all these interesting kind of cut out spaces in the walls that looked like they would have held book after book after book. Mm. And it was interesting. I went in and energetically, all of that kind of information started to download. And what I found, right, as energy starts to move through you, it was like my hand was held up and it just felt like this information was downloading into my hand. And I was writing in light language in the Akash, whatever it was, they were downloading. Yes. And it was very powerful and very strong and lasted about 15 minutes as I walked through this hall. And kind of the download I got was that this space was kind of this Akashic library on Earth, and those huge stone sarcophagus held, I believe, things like, scientific information, as well as probably books or scrolls or, inventions, that they literally held what needed to be protected before the Great Flood. So this was probably from 20,000 years ago or something like that. So this library held a lot of information. I believe then the people who created it came back, the beings of light,
Yes.
came back and retrieved it, because there was nothing there but huge empty sarcophagus and holes in the wall. So
Yeah. That's a very profound experience and very timely. And what people will learn, if they don't know already, is history's been cataclysms, rebuilding, bringing information out during the light periods, during the darker periods, having to hide it. And I've already done many shows with key people who are able to access and activate the space arcs and the Hall of Records that are being uncovered everywhere right now. So your story was perfect. And my sense is, and you described, the answer was perfect also, because it's from source originally, the Akashic Records, and before time, where Thoth is considered a god of the moon, of reckoning, of learning and writing. He was held the inventor of writing, the creator of languages, the scribe, the interpreter, the advisor of the gods, a representative sun god. So he popped in later. We'll find out all about these characters, trust me.
right,
They're going
right.
to be really interesting. So thank you for that, Lisa.
Right. And just so, let me just, in case people are curious, where that was, it's called the Seraphim, Serapeum, Seraphim. And it is near the stepped pyramid. So if you are in Egypt and you go to that area just outside of Cairo, that is where those were fascinating places. And I think a lot of times people kind of miss that area.
Oh, that's great to know. Well, and obviously you were meant to be there for many reasons. Great.
Right,
okay.
right.
So her last question was, I have heard so many things about this subject, but she's very honest, but I still don't understand how what we have done in our past lives is relevant to the now. Because I always thought we cannot go back in our past and change it. You and I both know we can. And as a matter of fact, people, I did 2 shows with Isaac, the last 2 shows where he created the unity theory and describing simplistically the answer to that very question. So this is just a side note, not to get off track. So there's a method to my madness, believe it or not. And I plan shows based on building information. So if you miss shows, you may get a little lost in the next upcoming shows, because everything is built on so that you can have a bigger picture. So I really advise that you go back, watch those 2, and you will understand that the past can be changed by the quality of our present. So what would you like to add to that, Lisa?
Absolutely. And before we embody every lifetime, we write a soul plan, and it is based on what we've done, the gifts and talents we want to bring forward in this upcoming lifetime, the karmic patterns we'd like to complete, right? So the challenges we didn't finish that we still need to learn about so that we can complete that pattern. So we are looking at many of our different past lives and saying, oh, and I want to have a soul contract to say, be in relationship with this person. And, oh, here's some of my soul family. Let's make sure we meet up again. And let's use these great gifts and talents that I've had in 10, 20, 50 other lifetimes. And, so we really are basing our return to the earth on, what we want to complete. Yes. And what we want to share, and who we want to spend time with. So we are completely going kind of into the records of who and what we've been and done to say, oh, now where do I want to go? Because we want to keep growing as a soul. It's all about soul growth.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So now, we want to finish what we haven't finished.
Yes, but also I would imagine that even though we have a plan, stuff happens, right? We may not always have to do it exactly as we planned, especially at this time.
Right.
Because we have the free will to rewrite it. But that's easier to do once you're conscious of it in the first place.
Yes.
Right? Like, you know what you signed on for. Would you agree with that?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and even though, we write this whole plan, we write a big plan, and then we come to Earth and we have amnesia and we have no clue as to what we were planning, right? Most of us are in the dark. And so it takes us probably the first 30 or 40 years to figure things back out again. Or, some of us, like myself, I was born very awake. And so I started studying very young, but I don't know that that was all that useful either. So,
yes. Yeah, exactly.
It was more traumatic. I'm like, what the heck am I doing here? Why am I back? I was mad.
Yeah, you shared a little bit of that in part one.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, one of the goals, right, is to use skills we have, but to try not to repeat repetitive patterns or tendencies that we may be the only ones having fun with. Right?
Right.
So
Absolutely.
you find those out by accessing the Akashic records too. Now, one of the things is, are there any no-nos where Akashic records cannot give you the answers ethically? Like, for instance, I would imagine ethically they are not to tell you when you're going to die or how you plan to die. But can you answer that question for people?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's a great example. They never tell me, certainly, or for my clients, they basically say, again, we write a plan, but then, stuff happens. And we also have maybe a half a dozen or so exit points. Say things go really, extremely wrong. We may have a exit point where we can bail. It may show up as a, car accident where we cross, or some sort of illness where we leave. And sometimes that's because we're actually done. And we may have finished earlier. Maybe we're ready to leave and we want to go do something else. And so that may show up through, again, illness, accident, some kind of thing like that. So you may have likely been sticking around until you were 90 or 100. And then at 50, you're like, I've kind of covered it all. I think I'm ready. Yeah, I want to go on and get, and go help even more. I want to help from the other side. I want to be supportive in all these other ways. And so there is no hard and fast, this is, no matter what you do to yourself, you're going to live till you're 90, right. So we have human bodies. We can misuse, we can abuse them and shorten our lives. So things like that. Also, they always say that it's very, very important to be in integrity when you work in the Akashic records. And what that means to the record keepers is that if you're working in your own records, you only ask questions about yourself. You don't ask questions about anybody, your friends, your family, anything else. I don't get to say, is it possible that my husband's having an affair? Or are my kids doing drugs? Or, it's not
no spying.
No spying. You cannot use the records to spy. And so what happened was 1,000 years ago, they pulled the energy of the Akash away from the planet because we misused and abused it. We were, looking for other people's goal or how do I win a war? What's their plan, right? So we really need to be very pure of heart and be in integrity when we're working in the records, or we will lose our access.
Way to go. I'm for that. And thank you for explaining that both historically and for clarity. Now, people are telling me right now, some people, they're telling me, I feel so confused, overwhelmed, and I feel like there's so much more. I'm getting this a lot. There's so much more I'm here to do, but I feel blocked by something. I feel held back and frustrated, and I can't put my finger on it. And I'm like, well, I got an answer for you. Get an Akashic record reading.
Right. That can be very, very helpful. Absolutely. And one, learning about your soul plan, healing a lot of these kind of different patterns or blocks or energies. Sometimes just being the sovereign of our own body and our energy field can be phenomenal to help us to realign to our soul's plan, to our Akash, to our life and, purposes. So, all of that is very important. And the other thing the record keepers keep saying, because I would say, well, I've been probably frustrated and impatient since, whatever, 2000 or earlier, even longer. What am I saying? But they always say, divine timing, like the world can only change so quickly. And there are projects that many of us are on, but more people have to get on board. We have to do the foundational work. We have to clear that lower vibration. We have to, come together. And in order to create the new earth, you just can't do it overnight. It just wouldn't work out very well for most of us. So it's a process, and there's a whole lot of, divine timing and souls waking up and getting on the bandwagon and coming in to help. And all of those things are part of creating what we're creating. And so in the meantime, I agree, it can be very frustrating.
It's kind of like, someone told me, excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt.
It's okay. No.
Someone told me, and I love this because it was such a positive take on it. I said, I think I'm in writer's block, and they said, Marilee, you're moving too fast. A lot of times writer's block is not like there's something wrong with you. A lot of times writer's block is that your guides and stuff are holding you back because what you're about ready to share will be more appropriate. Right? So there's so many ways to look at that. And your point is very well taken in that one of the big things that can happen during Akashic Record reading is the clearing of energies.
Yeah.
So when people feel blocked and frustrated, like I can't put my finger on it, you're clearing out old energies, dark energies, vows, and things that don't serve you anymore, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it's important. I do a lot of deprogramming, and really what I've seen happen in the last few months, different projects will show up, right? And so I end up doing quite a bit of group healing because, again, it's about collective groups coming together and being able to unwrite, detangle, release some of these old stories and patterns. And a lot of these are programs that have kept us locked down, thinking we're just little human muggles, living a single life and, dum-de-dumming along, where, of course, that's not true whatsoever. But we need to unwrite those. We need to deprogram people. We need to keep releasing it again and again and again and again. And and I know that, if I did it once, that's not going to heal the whole planet of, 7 billion people. So it's a project I'm on, and there's lots of other people on that same project, right? Just as we had talked a little bit, and I know we're going to talk a little bit more about the divine masculine, divine feminine, right? Kind of doing work around that and rebalancing that. It's not a small project. It's a huge project on our planet,
which you just segue perfectly into, of course, is you, like many others, like you said, and I have a fair number of friends, I don't know, for 20, 30 years have traveled the planets to sacred sites. And I used to make fun of these people, so I apologize, some of them. I'm like, get a life, And they're like, no, I have to take these crystals and go to these points and these sacred energies to help, Mother Earth. And you know what? Lo and behold, I found out they're right. So just hate that. But anyway, speaking of a job, that is exactly, you have been sent by record keepers often in guidance and angelics, like you got to go here, go to here. So you just returned from Scotland, sacred sites. Yeah. And what specifically were you being asked to do there?
Well, it was very interesting because I knew that it was about balancing divine feminine and divine masculine, because Scotland holds a lot of the divine masculine energy. And I know that France, especially the south of France, holds a lot of the divine feminine. So I was thinking, me as the person, was imagining, and not that this isn't going to happen, but I thought I was going to maybe go to, do Scotland, and then next year go to France, to the south of France, because I've wanted to go for a very long time. That just doesn't show up. So I don't push it, right? Other things show up. So I do what is, what shows up for me to do. Anyway, but while I was there, I realized again, and to me, even as conscious as I am, and even working in the records and having all these conversations, I think they like us often to kind of, be in the mystery, to be in the fun and the joy of, of travel and experience and not be a know-it-all.
Yeah.
And so what I realized is, of course, I'm going to Scotland, and I had scheduled a trip to Rosalind Chapel, which holds beautiful divine feminine. And I was doing a 3-island tour, which one of the island is the island of Iona, which is also beautiful divine feminine. And another of the island is Staffa, which is basalt. It's a pure basalt outcropping. It's black octagonal stones that were pushed up through the earth, which is also very masculine. So what I realized was I was actually weaving in my journeying from Edinburgh up to Loch Ness, and to different castles, out to the Isle of Lewis, to the beautiful Callanish standing stones. I hugged about 60 standing stones out there, just activating and downloading energies, receiving some of that ancient energy, and then moving it, and then going on to Skye, to another beautiful island that had more, divine, quite a bit of divine feminine energy on Skye, and then into the, Staffa and Iona and Rosalind. And I just kind of see it like waves of masculine and feminine energies just kind of weaving together as we go from place to place to place to place to place. And it was really beautiful. I mean, the whole trip was just beautiful, and all the energy was phenomenal.
So we'll get a little bit more into that, but just for people's clarity here, I would like you to define or illustrate what divine feminine is out of balance, and what it is in balance, and what divine masculine looks like out of balance, and what it is in balance.
Right. I actually kind of move it almost out of the divine, because when it's out of balance, it becomes the feminine. Right. And when it becomes out of balance, it's just the masculine. So out of balance, masculine and feminine energy. The feminine energy often feels a lot like there's all sorts of kind of aspects: overly emotional, overly dramatic and traumatic, and or feeling like I have to save the world. I have to be everybody's doormat. Everyone can take advantage of me and push me around and tell me what to do. So there's like lack of any of their own power and empowerment. Divine feminine has a lot of power and gifts and strength. And so, and kind of in that same way, the masculine becomes really all about power and the feminine becomes more about weakness, right? So they're imbalanced that way. Our world has been, masculine over feminine. Women have been downtrodden, treated terribly, imprisoned. Even if it was interesting, I was doing a reading the other day and I got, what did they say? They said she has been a slave wife. I was like, slave wife. It's like you're more of a slave than actually a wife. You're not an equal, you're the maid, right? And so that is kind of the real imbalance of women and men in relationship, where women feel like they are not just, taking care of the family out of love and choice, but really almost out of enslavement, out of feeling like they have no choice, they have no say, they have no ability to do whatever maybe their heart, their soul wants to do.
And duty.
And duty. And so there's a lot of the enslavement, which is interesting also because I go back sometimes to the time, I just call it the fall of the goddess temples, back when divine feminine was very empowered and loved and honored, and not just worship but really honored, because women can produce people, right? We can give birth to other humans. And so the mother, the crone, the wise woman, we were so honored, and we were amazing healers, and we had temples, and we really gave and cared for our communities and our towns, our villages, our cities, even with our gifts. But again, it was very loved and honored. And then the fall really came when the masculine moved to the power and war and
infiltration too.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Really taking over. And so what happened to many of the goddess temples, these beautiful divine temples, was, they were ruined. The women were murdered, raped, enslaved. And it was a very painful fall. And it even created a very sad energy where women became jealous and women started fighting women because it was about survival at that point. It's like, I want to be the wife or the concubine of the general. I don't want that lowly, whatever guy. And so women would fight women over, just.
Yeah. And I also feel there's been huge imbalances for the male too,
Oh, absolutely.
Like, they've been enslaved to work. They can't express their emotions, all this bullying and programming, hierarchical, military, bullying, crazy stuff. So absolutely. Now, how does that apply to what you are actually doing when you're balancing the energies? Are you removing memories of places? Because we're designed, maybe it'd be useful to talk about that every human carries light codes and what we're designed to do, and then go from there.
Sure. So, right, because we come in and we do carry a lot of unconscious memory, but we carry a lot of energetic keys and light codes. We have kind of bigger, often unseen or unaware of purposes that may be kind of simple. There's a lot of like earth guardians on the planet who are here, and they're re-energizing many of the ley lines and the grids. And so often they're going to different places where, we can energetically connect to those grids or those ley lines, or and we don't have to do anything to kind of do that, because we might have that key or that code in our body, and that code, which we may not know. We may just love to go to the beach and just, be in the glory of the water and the sun and the sand. But we almost feel that expanse of energy. We just let it flow through us and out into the earth and out into the water. And the same thing by going to many of these sacred sites. We are sharing some of these unseen and often unconscious light codes and energies that we have. So, we can do a lot of our work without even being all that conscious of it, which is beautiful and powerful. And
yes,
that was, I had that experience a few years ago when I went to 3 pyramids on different continents, and I didn't realize I was moving codes around until I went to the second one. So I went to Egypt and the pyramids, and then I went to Chichen Itza and the Yucatan, and then I went to the Bosnian pyramids in Bosnia. And I was like, oh, interesting. So I was picking up and like moving, it'd be like if somebody gave me a handful of keys, I'm like, okay, I'm dropping that one off at Chichen Itza. I'm taking those because we're moving energies around the planet. We're opening portals. We're opening new stargates, old stargates that have been closed for a very long time.
yes.
So we're doing a lot of this work. But again, you come back to masculine, feminine, divine, masculine, divine, feminine. Part of what we're doing is energetically healing, unwriting some of the energy. I've been called quite a bit in this last year to places of war. There's been a lot of wars. So even though the wars are, some of them are on the earth and some of them are like galactic wars that are connected. And so there was some of that work in Egypt and at Karnak and, and with the temple. So we're clearing, releasing, deleting some of the emotional pain and trauma also from the earth. I felt very called to go to Culloden, which is a site of a battle in Scotland, and just go and walk around the battle sites and just kind of honor the people who had been there and the families who had been there. And that is healing. So when we hold the love and the light and that purity, clarity, when we can hold a higher vibration and bring that energy to many different places in the earth, it really allows the earth herself to clear and release and heal from some of the trauma that happened on her.
Many, many, many people have these hidden gifts. And I believe we're designed as a walking antenna, right? And transducers. So all the time we have our, this towards higher self, source, and this towards earth. And as everyone knows, we're interdependent with earth. Our bodies, I look at it as our bodies belong to earth and our souls are stars. So it belong to that. So we're the integrating. Now, what I'd like you to express next is why at this time is this so important? Why are we freeing the earth from her sorrow, her old history, as well as us, and releasing through the ley lines, which is her electrical nervous system? Why are we doing that now?
Well, one, we're actually doing it because we can finally, right? So the vibration of the earth, I'm going to say because of the alignment of the stars and all of that kind of bigger picture energy has held us locked down in these old programs and patterns. And now, as we've moved into the age of Aquarius, the new alignment to the galactic center, Earth herself is awakening. So her vibrations raising and awakening, and we will awaken with her. And so all of us humans who are conscious enough to help are out here doing what we can on the surface, right, to make it easier. And so I had an interesting kind of vision the other day is that it kind of was like if you imagine that the earth had been had a net thrown over her, and it was, locked down to whatever that lower vibration, denser vibration. To me, that's almost like what it looks like happened as we corralled the earth and we brought it down to the third dimension so that we could experience separation, so that we could experience having this unusual experience that I don't think we get anywhere else that I remember. And so the earth herself has literally been locked down, tied down, and we are now with the vibration, with the energies that are coming, with the light, with the alignment to the galactic centers, and all of that, we can now start to unwrite, delete, release. And so to me, it looks like I often see it as kind of an unweaving, but it's like unhooking. We're unanchoring her to whatever she was anchored to that has kept her down in the third dimension, so that she can move into the fourth and fifth and sixth and seventh and eighth and ninth until we get back up into the 12th.
Yes. And at least, folks, right now, I firmly believe that we're pretty close to being stabilized to fifth density. And from the research I've done, they said in Atlantis time, we dropped from sixth density. I thought it was fifth. At the last war, we dropped from sixth to third. So we're kind of like, helping everyone remember. And fifth density is so much more fun and so much clearer and less polarized and all of that. So that was such a key point to share, because you're helping with the frequencies going faster and higher, which creates a new density, and also a term of what you were describing in some of our research is often referred to as the false matrix.
Right.
She was like caught in the false matrix. So we're also taking down that, punching holes in it, however you want to see it.
Right. Absolutely.
And at the same time, because we're inseparable, a lot of us are getting messages to be healthier ourselves, to balance our energies out. Thus, the meditation you're going to guide at the end, how to move the energies through in dynamic balance so that we can fully be the fullness of who we are in this. So thank you for sharing that.
The record keepers really want to add something else in here, which is that it's important that we realize that that we've really created this, and so we can uncreate it, right? It hasn't been done to us. No one did this to us. We did it ourselves because we wanted this experience. And so we can, and we are undoing it, right? So if we made a net to hook, to drag the earth down, we can, unanchor, clear, release, break, cut open that net, right? So that's what so many of us are doing bit by bit by bit by bit by bit all over the planet. So it really is beautiful in that way. And I think it's just one of the pieces that's so important for us as we go forward is to own these bigger truths.
Yes.
To move out of any old stories and places of victimhood and to say, yeah, we really are ancient, huge, wise, infinite souls that have been mucking about for our own fun, honestly, and
it's like playing with limitation, all that stuff, and that we as co-creators actually created this along with councils and everything else as a huge experiment too, which at first when I heard that word, I was uncomfortable with it. Now I'm comfortable with it because it's not like we're being experimented upon. It's like we're created it, because different universes create different experiments and different realities. So I'm really glad that you brought that up and the record keepers shared that, because we are completely getting rid of the victim perpetrator paradigm.
Right.
Done. No more victimization. Moving into you honoring you're a creator, or at least a co-creator, right? And
Right.
so we can
Absolutely.
stabilize this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very important that we step into our power. And it's also a big piece of, for women, because we have felt disempowered for hundreds or thousands of years. We have been treated like we were less than, or sinners, or not smart enough, or whatever, all depending on where you live and what your story is there. But power is actually a good thing. To be empowered, because you are creator beings.
Yes.
Every single one of us, we get to do it in physical, which is very cool. So any woman who has had a child,
Yes.
hopefully knows that's a phenomenal process of being a creator being. And then we can take that and make that even bigger as we create our life, and we create our world, and we create the fifth dimension. That's where we're going, stepping more fully into the creator beingness, into our empowerment as that. And so it's a very, very exciting time when you think about it that way. And so kind of coming out from hiding, a lot of women have also felt, they've had to stay small, stay quiet. All of that is the feminine imbalance that we've had. And so standing up and sharing our gifts and speaking our truth, we can, of course, always do it with love and compassion and kindness and gentleness. Power never has to be aggressive or ugly or, hurtful. Mm-hmm. And that's the balance, again, when you look at power. So both women and men can step into their power and share it with love and compassion.
Is true equals, because we all are one. So not to mention, a lot of us have played tons of female lives,
Right.
I've pretty much done almost half and half. So that's why I know that we're moving more into the feminine awakening stage, but I'm also very cautious and have the highest respect for the male. And that is why I want to emphasize that this is about integrating both, no matter what body type you're in, because many of the males have gone through all kinds of stuff. Just the women felt, this is what I have to do to be loved and accepted. And the men have done the same thing, but in a different way. This is what I have to do to, get someone, have someone, and be taken care of. So it's going to be equal. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to be freed up that we spend a lot of our time with. And I am personally really excited about it. Now, one question I'd like to bring up, only because I've had 3 clients in the last week bring this subject up. So I figure it's probably obvious, but I want you to answer, why is it important to be comfortable with the unknown, to be curious and seek out the mysteries of life? Because I find people are so programmed to be scared of the unknown.
Oh, interesting. Right. So, that is honestly the space that we create in. And so when we can allow ourselves to be in the unknown, when we can allow ourselves really energetically to be in the void. Mm-hmm. So one of the, again, real gifts of accessing your own Akashic records is that it often feels that we move, when we open the records, to me, I move into the void. Often, especially new beginner students, they'll feel like the library and the stories. But as we really deepen into the expanse of the Akash, we really move into the void. And in that space, it can be, what am I coming to create? Or, often for me, it'll be like, I'll be in this just big void until someone asks a question. And then that energy will be created and brought forward, or remembered and brought forward. But it really is the energy of creation, and to live in that space, to get comfortable with not knowing. I mean, and I talked even a little bit about that, I think, as when I was going to Scotland, I kind of knew there was this balance, but is this going to be about me doing Scotland now and France later? What am I supposed to do? What's happening? And just being okay with that, just kind of making a plan. I want to see these places. I'm being called to the standing stones. I know these are very ancient energies. And so we just kind of put one foot in front of the other, just following our heart and our soul guidance. And then kind of more in hindsight, sometimes it's like, oh, wow, isn't that interesting? I could look back at all of the energetic weaving between the divine feminine, divine masculine places and spaces in Scotland, just as I saw after going on 3 vacations, 3 trips in 9 months, that I had gone to 3 pyramids in 3 continents. I was like, wow, who would have thought? If the record keepers had said, you're going to go do that, I would have been like, no way, I can't do that. That's too much.
It's kind of like incarnating.
Right? Right. And
there's no way I can do that. And then, we just do. We're incredibly resourceful.
And we're better that way often. So just know that being in that kind of creative space, in that unknown, in the void, in that, it just allows you. So just really let yourself be in that space of knowing you're a creator being. We all are creator beings. And just with the intention that you're creating the highest and best life and world and relationships and, happiness that you can create in this world. And so just, holding those intentions are very helpful when when we get kind of off balance in any kind of fear, like, whoa, what am I supposed to do?
In the higher realms, or when we have the fullness of access, right, to what we are, we don't have to quote, we don't have to have even a memory in a certain way, because we can access anything we need when we need it. So another way is how we frame and reframe the brain, the part that's neurotic and programmed, is by saying, I know what to do, I just can't remember right now. So I will step forward and trust in the unfoldment, right? Again, it takes a little bit of the edge off. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. And I think even as we go forward in this energy, I think, we really do have so much knowing and wisdom and, unconscious memory, that when we allow ourselves to know that we know this, that the highest and best perfect whatever information will arise as is needed, that it really, really, really does. And it's just perfect, right? So we can kind of get over our like, oh my God, I can't remember. It's like, if it's important, if it's needed, it'll show up. If it's not, something else will show up and inform you.
Is there anything else that you or the record keepers or angelics would like to share at this time? And I thank them so much.
Absolutely. The record keepers just want to say thank you. Thank you, Marilee. Thank you, everyone who is watching us, for everything you do every day, consciously and unconsciously. They want you to know that you truly are on task, on purpose, transforming the world and really anchoring in the 5th dimension. And they are grateful for us.
Oh, back at you guys.
I know they're like, you're the lucky ones. You guys are embodied. We can only do stuff through you.
This is what humans don't get, that this is considered a fortunate experience, because, there's a lot of extreme negativity that we're ending, right? Patterns and ending. Now, I just wanted to go backwards one little spot because I have a little fun story to add to your thing. And you and I have both been to Staffa, and I'm going to put up on the video the picture of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very magical. You have to take a boat out. You can explain it, and it's a cave. And tell people a little bit about that, and then I'm going to add my story to it.
Okay. Yes. So, Stuff is a small island. Literally, it's just all this black basalt outcropping, and you get off of the boat, and you can go kind of up the stairs to the top, which is just grass. And in the spring, the puffins are up there. You can go see puffins, which I miss the puffins. The puffins weren't there in August. I think they leave in July. But anyway. So we went along the black wall of, basalt into the cave, and the waves and the color and the sound is amazing. It is so powerful. Back probably in the 1800s, wrote a whole musical concerto after going to Staffa and being in that, hearing that sound in the waves and in this cave. It's just spectacular. And the story is that there were two giants, one on in Ireland and one on Staffa, and there was a causeway between the two countries, and the giants went to war and they broke down the causeway, and the only things left is Staffa in Scotland, and there's something, I don't know the name of it in Ireland, but it has a name.
Yes, the Giant's Causeway, I think it's called.
Of course it is.
But the picture's up now, and so you'll be able to see the amazing stones and shapes. It's a very magical place, and I remember you told me when we were catching up before the interview that you felt, what kind of energy did you feel there? Do you remember? You said,
peace was actually what I felt. It was interesting because here you're on this little island after this rough boat ride, and I'm standing in this cave with this crashing water, and it just felt so peaceful and expansive and just so beautiful. I wanted to stay there, but I was kind of glued to the wall, and other people wanted to come in. Yes. And I was just like, yeah. It was very wild. It was very kind of cosmic peace.
Beautiful. Now, if I have it right from our memory, and I hope I have, I hope I have permission to say this, and I'm leading into my story a little bit, is when I asked you what else you felt there, I kind of remember you saying it was masculine energy, and I felt water dragon and fire mermaid.
Mm-hmm. Right. Oh, well, that was interesting. The Staffa, definitely a lot of that, masculine with the crashing waves and the black basalt, but also up on the Isle of Lewis, the record keepers had told me to go into the water and send energy to the water dragons up there, which is in the outer Hebrides. Staffa, they're a little bit inner Hebrides, but when I was out, that was probably about as close to, Iceland as you get out there. So I didn't go swimming, but I put my hands in the water. It was cold. But yes, it was really sending a lot of that energy and light and consciousness and love to the water dragons. And the fire mermaids, I end up feeling more in Hawaii.
Oh yes, the volcanoes and all of that too. Yeah. Well, just one little cute story here, and you can hear more about it in earlier shows. If you backtrack, Captain Mark Richards, who was one of the first soldiers, he had very intimate connections, and he and his father had a lot to do with the raptors that look exactly like Jurassic Park worlds, by the way. long stories about that. That's not the purpose of the show. But anyway, he had a lot to do with them no longer thinking of us as enemies, no longer using us as hunting, and becoming friends. So one of the things about Staffa that he told me before I went is he said, I will share with you a secret, which is the raptors go there to swim when no one's around. They love that. And as you can see from the picture we showed you, there's an inlet that's just amazing. And it's just a magical place. So I just wanted to add that a little bit. It's one of their hangouts at night when people are around. So,
right. And it's a very, very,
so
I
it's
believe
dragon,
that goes,
kind of
yeah.
like dragon a little bit.
Yeah, dragons, and they're coming back well, and our beautiful green emerald dragon that we're riding upon, our Gaia. But it's also a very, very deep cave. I believe it
Yes
goes all the way through the island. So I could see where they could hang out in there. And
yeah. Now, one last question is, as you're getting your galactic downloads, so we're not, expanding not just Earth Akashic record readings, but galactic journeying. Is there anything you'd like to share about that? So
it's been very interesting that a lot of the information and energy from the records, from the Akashic records for humans, has been pretty human for a very, very, very long time. Well, it was pulled away, so it's really pretty newly back to Earth for the last 40 or 50 years. But it's interesting. I've noticed over the last few years, the more galactic information coming in, and what that has included is sometimes being able to go back and help to heal some different lifetimes in these higher, fifth, sixth, eighth, 10th dimensional lifetimes where we were maybe working on bringing the earth down and making some of these plans and doing this work. And so it's very cool to see that not only are we kind of working in this earth time space continuum and story, but we are actually able to start to access these bigger, more galactic records of other lives or other times and places. And so that's coming in, and I know it will continue to expand, right? As is usual with everything, it kind of starts to expand more and more as the whole energy and as we practice and all the above. So yeah, it's very exciting.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that and your wisdom and your travels and the importance right now of the male-female balancing. And if you would like, I think it would be a lovely time right now to guide us.
It's always important. And I just want to say that it's a simple process. It's a simple tool. The record keepers just explained to me, and they say, keep doing it. So you can do it for yourself whenever you feel maybe a little out of balance. So everyone has a masculine channel and a feminine channel. And the way I see them is one runs down the left side of the chakras. So if you see the chakras as kind of big circles in your body, and you've got a channel running down one side, a channel running down the other side. And basically the simple idea is we're just going to balance the left and the right channel right through each chakra. So I like to start with the sixth, which is the mental level. We also have the third eye in there. You have the left and the right hemisphere of the brain. So as we're balancing the left and the right channels, the masculine and feminine channels through the brain, we're also balancing the hemispheres of the brain and all of that energy, right? Because we've believed for a very, very long time that we are kind of either linear or creative. We use our left brain or our right brain. But again, it is time to use them both, right? So we can be very creative and very linear, integrating our gifts of being able to be creative and still, it's like be linear enough that I can organize, my life, my business, my family, my travels. I do all of my travel work, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of kind of linear research and study and and that gift, which is also creative. So it's very much about balancing everything so that you can be it all, right? So just right. I want to be it all.
Now, before you start, just
Yep.
for if there's any newbies, just briefly describe what chakras are when you use that term so they'll know.
Oh, right. Okay.
Most people will know, but just.
Right. Energy centers in your body are called chakras. And we have the sixth one is in the forehead, and that's kind of the mental level. The fifth chakra is in the throat. This is also very much about speaking our truth and communication. The fourth chakra is in your heart, is your heart center in your chest. The third chakra is the solar plexus. Is also very much about creative energy and creating the life that your soul desires. So third chakra is very powerful around creating and out picturing in the world. Second chakra very much around emotions and also sexuality. And then first chakra, the root chakra, is a little bit more about survival, but also about creating. So they all hold quite a bit of different energy, but the root chakra is also a great place for us to ground from, to do a lot of healing around, because often that's kind of our denser energy. But that's, if you imagine, your first chakra is about survival. It's about food, clothing, shelter. And the third chakra is about how that out pictures in the world. So the chakra systems are, complicated and multi-layered, and every chakra actually has 12 layers within it. So we're just kind of going to balance the masculine energy with the feminine energy through the chakra. So we're starting to balance the energy in the chakra. So in our brain, we'll just start, so we can sit back and close your eyes. Just kind of picture these two channels of energy running down your body, and you have kind of a circle right there in your forehead, a sixth chakra. We're going to run a gold liquid light infinity symbol right from the right to the left and the left to the right through your sixth chakra, balancing the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere, just balancing our brains out so we really can do it all. Be creative, be linear, be organized, be expansive, be it all. So balancing that energy. And then we'll drop down to the throat chakra. And again, a liquid golden infinity symbol goes from the right to the left and back and forth through the communication center. So fifth chakra, very much about communicating, being able to speak your truth, to share your light and your wisdom with ease, to kind of heal much of our fear of being seen and speaking up. That's been very much about the imbalance between masculine and feminine. So as we balance them right through the throat, that helps to bring that all back into alignment and balance. And then down to our heart center, another gold liquid light infinity symbol, left to right, right to left, balancing our heart, our love, our ability to be love, share love, receive love, right? Sometimes the imbalance in the feminine is to not receive the love, only to feel that we're supposed to give it. And we are also here to receive it, and balancing all of that, and helping the divine masculine to open, to feel the love, the emotions, the tenderness, the compassion. All of that is very heart-centered energy of balance of masculine and feminine. And then we drop down to the third chakra, the solar plexus, again, as we're about creating the life our heart and soul desires. by being able to bring that creative energy out into the world. So an imbalance in the feminine might be creative energy, but afraid to create in the world. Fear of being seen, fear of stepping out and doing that work, which is, bringing your light, bringing your business, bringing whatever that might be out into the world, and balancing that with the male, where the male has felt that they have to work so hard just to survive, to be loved. So helping the male to be more creative, bringing those juices to the surface. So balancing divine feminine, divine masculine in the third chakra. And then we drop down to the second. And again, just balancing left to right, right to left, balancing the emotions, the fear of being emotional with some of the energy of over emotion, bringing that into balance right now. And down into the first. So really balancing the beautiful energies of creating a fifth dimensional world, creating the new earth, bringing our up-leveling home and food and shelter, and for the whole planet, helping Gaia, saving, right, helping to heal our dear Mother Earth, and balancing our ability to feed everyone and to share and make enough for everyone on the planet. So balancing that first chakra energy, the doing and the sometimes immobility that comes with the imbalance of feminine. So balancing all of that out through the body. And just running all that energy, those kind of balanced channels, all the way down through the body, down through the legs. Those channels continue down the legs. And let's just let them extend as our root system down into Gaia. Really grounding and anchoring this balanced divine feminine, divine masculine energy for ourselves, anchoring it into the earth and bringing that energy, that beautiful light out to people, kind of through that connection, through Gaia, through the earth. Beautiful. All right. Now it's just like to come back up to the Sacred Heart Center. Feel that love, that beautiful balanced energy in our heart. Let's do a quick third chakra, fourth chakra. I do a vertical figure eight from the heart to the third. That's really about creating the life that your heart and your soul desire. So really balancing the third and the fourth chakra together to create and manifest that highest and best fifth dimensional new earth for ourselves. Beautiful. And when you're ready, just coming back into your body, opening your eyes. Yeah, lovely.
It was a light, fun one.
Yes.
Yeah.
And powerful and important. I often suggest that people try doing that on a weekly basis. I think it's really nice to find some helpful tools like that. You could do that in 10 minutes easily, and say, okay, I'm going to rebalance, maybe on a Sunday evening before I go off to work tomorrow. And it helps to balance your energy within, of course, but then we start to balance it without. We balance it with the people in our world. And so it's very important when you're balanced and you are showing up as balanced energy. People match us. It's a fascinating thing about energy is that we want to match other people that we're around. And so if we have high vibrational balance, masculine, feminine energy of love and light and compassion, and everyone around us is going to start to match that, and that is supporting all of them. And then what we often will notice is that the people who can't match us or don't want to match us, they sometimes disappear from our life, and that's okay too, because we're doing everything we can to continue to raise the vibration and not let people pull us back down. So raising the energy of balance and light.
Beautifully said. Not judging, not polarizing anyone else, just allowing their free will, and yet for us staying on course. Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And thank you so much. That was really fun for me. And I hope it was for others. And it's a great tool. And I can see you can do it pretty quick too, which is so. Lisa, I think you should share with people, if I remember right, your brand new book that's coming out fall is Your Soul Has a Plan, Awaken to Your Life Purpose.
That is right.
And
Akashic Record.
Share with them your contact information.
I would love to. So my website is akashicknowing.com, and you will find my classes, my consultations, my 3 books. You will find everything right there, actually, on the homepage. I just recently had my website redone, so it's easy to find everything. You'll see the books with links on them and consultations if you want to have an Akashic reading and healing session with me, and the next upcoming classes that I'm teaching. So everything is at akashickknowing.com.
You want to spell that? Just
absolutely. It's AKASHIC, Akashic, knowing, KNOWING.com. So akashickknowing.com.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for the word that comes to me is delightful dedication. Just delightful to assist all of us and the planet as well. For we all know we are truly interdependent, and we are dedicating ourselves and rededicating ourselves daily, no matter what is going on in our life, to ensure that we as humanity and the planet both stabilize in 5th density and higher. And it will do so. And so, folks, thank you so much. And all these shows are I put on podcasts, audio podcasts. And like and subscribe if you'd like. And look Lisa up, because I had a session with her and it was delightful and informative. So I hope you enjoyed this. And as we continue to explore upwards and onwards, thank you so much.
Thank you, Marilee.
Okay. Bye-bye, love.